wanted to film this part at the park, but I got too embarrassed and I chickened out. Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming to my channel. Spring is springing. I'm a little hesitant to say that it has sprung because it could be 30 degrees tomorrow. That's just the games that New York is playing with the weather. But spring is definitely upon us. We are more into spring than we are into winter. If anything, it's been feeling like summer outside. And I'm excited. If you've been here before, I definitely mentioned a couple times that I wanted to make a crocheted picnic basket. And so that is exactly what I wanted to say. That's what we're doing today. But I've already done it. If anything, in this intro, I just want to be super quick and give a disclaimer. Scary, I know. But I just wanted to say that sometimes with a bigger project, I can't do a test run first. And this is definitely one of those projects. I was figuring out how I wanted it to be as I was making the tutorial. So this isn't the most polished tutorial of all time. If there's ever a moment where I said I've done something, but I didn't exactly get a clip of me doing it, check out the description because I'm gonna include a lot of other people's super 1 minute long tutorials on basic things, slip stitching, single crochets, how to connect with slip stitches, things like that. Because also it's a basket and I was doing a lot of manhandling and there was just absolutely no angle that was able to show what was happening, and so I'm sorry about that, but I tried my best. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I keep looking at it, but you've already seen clips, you know what it looks like. I think it's really cute. I can see myself in a few months maybe doing a redo of this tutorial. I think that's something that I will continually do with other things I've made as well, because sometimes I do have an idea of oh, that would have been such a better or more beautiful or more impressive or whatever way of doing this thing that I've already made. So maybe I'll remake this basket, but it's a crochet picnic basket. It's what I wanted. I'm happy with it. I hope you guys are too. So I'm gonna stop talking. Oh, I lied. Thank you so much to everybody who supports the channel. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your comments and your likes. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a great time, and every time somebody subscribes, I get really excited to put out my next video. So thank you for your support. And now I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna stop talking. Stop. And let's just jump into making this basket. For the basket, I used 8 skeins of the wool ease, some 12 gauge beading wire, and some plastic corrugated sheet, it says. But I do think the plastic sheet and the wire could be done without. Those are totally optional. And my basket's pretty big, so that's why I ended up using 8. Just make sure you buy in sets of 2 because I do use 2 strands at once. I have a 9mm hook, some stitch markers, and my yarn. I picked up the wool ease from Lion Brand. They had a sale in January, and I went with this because it's thick and in my head sturdier, because I'm really going for as sturdy as one can get for crochet. So yeah, I went with this in a darker color. They have a bunch of colors and they had a sale in January, and I picked up 6 because I feel like this is going to be a big project. And then to add even more stabilization, I'm actually going to double these up. So before we get started, I'm just going to go ball these and then I'll be right back. Okay, so we have 2 balls. And this is basically going to start out just like a normal basket. It's kind of what happens at the end that will make it a picnic basket, but I feel like that's kind of obvious because, the word basket is in picnic basket. Hello. I'm just gonna double up the strands and then leave a little tail and make a slip knot. like so. Grab my hook. Great, okay. So from here, I'm just gonna single crochet, like chain. Why did I say that? I'm gonna chain 16 stitches. Okay, so this 16th stitch I'm gonna use as my turning chain, and then I'm gonna go back on this. So I'm gonna skip that. We'll skip this one and go into this one and just do single crochets. Like so, for the next 14 stitches. So after 14 stitches, there's going to be 1 stitch left, and we're going to put 5 stitches into that last stitch to give us a nice curve at the end so we can work our way down on the other side. And then I grabbed 2 stitch markers because I'm going to place a stitch marker in the 2nd and 4th stitch of the 5. So I'm going to go in, pull up a loop, and do 1, 2, and then I'm going to grab my stitch marker, put it in there, okay, 3, 4, grab my other stitch marker. I got these for free from my last hobby order, and they're actually really nice. I'm surprised. Okay, and then 5. Okay, so my stitch got way too big because my original stitch was getting looser, my slip stitch. So I'm just gonna pull that really tight. No big deal. Okay, great. And then you could see naturally those 5 stitches curled around. So now, put my hook back into these loops. I am going to stitch, and I'm gonna sew in or like stitch under my tails there, go right into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and do a single crochet. Beautiful. And then I'm going to go the next 13 stitches and meet you after that. Okay, so I'm taking 2 new stitch markers. I'm at the 13th. And in this last stitch, I'm going to place 4 single crochets. In the 2nd one I place, I'm going to put a stitch marker. I did this so tight that I'm like struggling a little bit. Hold on. And then in the 4th, I'm also going to place a stitch marker. So that's the 4th stitch. Put my little stitch marker in there. Okay. Here we are. I did it really tight, so it's like a little wonky right now, but that's okay. It'll be fine. I actually switched out the purples to be pink. Alrighty, so that those match. And then after the first stitch of the round, right, which is going to be right here, I'm going to place another stitch marker. This time I'm going to use purple. And then that's going to help me count how many times around I've gone. Each time I hit the purple, I've gone around 1 time. Now I'm going to crochet all the way up to the stitch marker, and then I'll meet you back there. So we are at the stitch marker. I'm gonna take it out. And then what I'm about to do, I'm just gonna repeat, yikes, at all of the stitch markers that are pink. So I am going to put 3 stitches into that stitch with the stitch marker. So 1, 2, at my second stitch, right? So that was 2. I'm gonna put the stitch marker back in, maybe. Okay. And then do my third. 3. Okay, there's a stitch in between. So I'm gonna do that stitch. And then do the same exact thing at this stitch marker here. So I'm gonna take that out. 1, 2, put that stitch marker in. 3. Okay, then I'm just going to go all the way down, single crochet all the way down, and repeat that process here. So 3 single crochets into the stitch marker, putting the stitch marker back in after the second one, and then repeat here. I'm going to do that. I want it to be a pretty wide base, so I'm going to start going around and around and around with that pattern for like 5 rows, and then I'll show you what it looks like at 5. And again, I'm using the purple one to remember how many rows I've done. And then after 5, we'll see how big it is and see if I need to do more. Where were we? So this is what 5 rows look like, and it is a workout. I'm gonna have some big muscular hands, and it's super thick though and sturdy, so exactly what I wanted. So we're right on course for happiness. Okay, this definitely isn't enough rows though, because here's how I'm planning this. If I'm gonna take my picnic basket to the park, I'm gonna need my water bottle, probably a lunch, my iPad, and then like probably a few more things. Maybe a bottle of wine. You know what I mean? This is how I'm planning it out. So I think I'm gonna do 2 more rows, and that should be good. Yeah, okay, so I've done 5 increasing rows so far. I'm gonna do 2 more, and then we'll start building up. Okay, so I just took out my purple stitch marker. I have done 7 rows for the base. It's a little crinkly because I keep like bending it, which I'm trying not to do, but oh well. So now for this row, I am going to go ahead and do the same exact pattern, but this time with a half double crochet. So I'm gonna yarn over, go in the loop, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, like that. So again, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my purple stitch back in so I can remember where I started. Okay, lovely. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do 1 row of half double crochet all the way around, increasing in that second loop of 3 and doing 3 stitches again into my stitch markers here. And I'll be right back. Okay, so if I tilt it a little, you can see how that is already starting to curve because of the half double crochets. I didn't put my stitch markers back in because we won't need them anymore. In this second row we're about to do, I did just take the purple one out. I'm going to keep using the purple one. In the second row that we're about to do, I'm going to want to encourage the yarn and the stitches to keep folding up. So when you look at a half double crochet stitch, normally you would just see this stitch here, and that's how you would go along. But what we want to do for this row of single crochets is actually go through that back loop and this back bar here. So that loop there. So I'm grabbing these two loops. You can see them if you turn it. These two loops in the back rather than these two loops in the front. And just single crocheting. So pull up a loop, pull through two, right? So not these two, but turn the work and go through these two like that. Pull up a loop, and that first loop is going to stay there. Pull through. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around. Following that pattern, no more increases, single crochets only, and I'm going to meet you back here, which actually I should have put my little purple stitch marker back in there like that. So I will meet you back here. Alrighty, let me pull this loop a little so I can show you what's up. So we are approaching our little stitch marker, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so we can start to see the sides forming. Yes, I am manipulating it like a little bit, but whatever. So you can start to see the side is forming up, and now I'm just going to literally single crochet around and around and around. Again, no increases, but this time just normal single crochet through the stitch, nothing fancy. At this point you can decide to change the stitch. I know people like to do baskets with the waistcoat stitch, you know, the moss stitch, whatever. Personally, because this yarn is so like multicolored and it has the freckles and whatever, I feel like if I spent the time doing a special stitch, you won't even be able to like recognize it quickly. I feel that way about dark colors usually. Like if you're gonna do a project with a really nice stitch, do it with a lighter color because you just can't see it with dark colors. So I'm literally just going to go around and around and around with a normal single crochet, no increases, nothing like that, until it covers my iPad. So I'm gonna start working, and I'll catch up with you when I'm a decent show and tellable height. So I am finishing up my 10th row, I believe. It might only be 9 rows. I really can't remember if I started counting before or after. I think it's 10 rows. I have everything that I said I would need in a day, plus some in here, and it's like so sturdy. Okay, so I did actually put everything in the basket that I said I would normally use such a basket for. So this is like obviously a Tupperware container. I was going to try to say the size. I have no idea what size it is. And then I have my knockoff hydro flask, my iPad so that I can work. And then I actually added like an entire blanket because I realized I usually like to lay on a blanket. So this fits in there and everything else. So actually I'm pretty happy with the size. And again, I probably would add maybe 1 or 2 more rows. It also looks like you could put a baby in here. But I'm running out of yarn, so whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna take out my stitch marker, and I am gonna put 1 stitch in because it's kind of on the curve, which to me doesn't seem like the ideal place to really start. So here, okay, 1 more stitch. Okay, so now I feel like I've officially rounded that curve there. Okay, so this is a little tricky, so I'm gonna show you and then I'm probably gonna do the rest off screen. I want to place the wire on top and then just crochet around it. So put the hook through, pull it over the wire, pull up that loop, and then just finish the single crochet. So 1 more time, here's the wire. It's kind of hard to see because I purposely picked a color that would blend in. But go under, pull up a loop, finish the single crochet. And I'm pulling it nice and tight. Okay, so this definitely added exactly the structure I wanted it to. You can't see it at all. 10 out of 10 would recommend the wire. So I'm almost done. I still have to go around this curve here, but I wanted to connect these before I go over them. So I'm literally just going to cut the wire and then try my best to estimate how much I actually need because I don't want the wire to be too big, so I am actually going to trim just a little bit more. And then I'm going to try my best to twist it together. So 1 second. So I literally just twisted it together. It's not perfect. Maybe if you're a jewelry girly, you'd have a better idea, but I don't. So now I'm just gonna go ahead, continue crocheting over top of it until I get over to where I started, and then we'll have a chat. Alrighty, wire is done. Can't see it, can't feel it. Even those parts that I thought were obviously sticking out are not. So before I give it a little final zhuzh on the shape, I'm just gonna go in and slip stitch a few stitches. 1, probably like 3, 2, 3, beautiful. Of course, on my last step. What am I doing, girl? Okay. And then I'm just going to chain 1, pull really tight, and cut it, and that's it. And I will weave this in like off camera. I'm just gonna weave in that tail, and then I'm gonna carefully manipulate the wire. I don't wanna manipulate it like too much because I don't want it to snap, but see, pretty. Now I'm just going to repeat the process that I made the square, or that is not a square, that's a rectangle. I'm going to repeat the process to make the rectangular base and then stop, and then I will come back and show you what I do from there. Alrighty, she looks a little wonky because I've just been seriously manhandling this whole project. But anyway, so this is 7 rows, which is what I did for my base. Because my vision is to have it hang over with a lip as well, I'm actually going to go around for an 8th row before I start making the lip on the lid. So I'm going to do 1 more row around exactly the same and then come right back. So now that I did 1 extra row around, I'm going to follow the same exact process to start the fold up as I did on the bottom of the basket. So I'm gonna go around and do a half double crochet all the way around, and then I'm gonna do the row of back bar only into the half double crochet, and then I think that'll be it. Okay, so I did that whole row of back bar single crochets, and you can kind of see that ridge there, and that's what's gonna happen when you do those back bars. I'm gonna do 2 rows now of just normal single crochets through the tops, like normal. And I'm gonna do 2 rows of that, and then I will see where we're at. Okay, I just kind of put it on loosely, and I lied. I'm only gonna do 1 row after the back bars. Okay, so similarly to how I ended the basket, I'm just gonna do 3 slip stitches. And I just do those because I feel like it makes it decrease a little and it makes the ending smoother. Look at how this yarn sheds. Gross. Okay. And then I'm just gonna chain 1, pull it, cut it, and then we move on. Okay, so we have basket and we have lid, and I actually want to physically connect the lid in the middle to the basket, and then do like a little seam, and from there make handles that go around that way. So I am placing my hook through like the middle spot about 3 rows down, because that is about where my lid hits. I basically just slip stitched it together here. So I like connected on the inside really tightly, and then did about 4 or 5 slip stitches back and forth. I couldn't get it on camera because I was seriously manhandling it, but you could also probably just like weave in and out, whatever feels like it's connected and strong. But from this, I want to right away, because that's like in the middle, I want to start one of the handles. So I'm just going to do a chain as long as I want to make it. I'll let you know how many stitches I end up doing. And then to connect the chain, I'm going to do a bunch of slip stitches over here the same way, but that I will try my best to show. So I ended up doing 32 chains. I personally don't want the handle to be super long, so that's why I did that length. Good talk, guys. Wow. Okay, so from here, I'm going to do my best to make sure the lid looks like it's on, right? And then find the middle again and slip stitch together. So after slip stitching a few times just to secure that, I'm going to now, I'm like a little bit away from that first one, but barely. I don't think that's that important. But anyway, I'm going to chain 32 to go the other way so that I have 2 handles. Okay, and now I want to connect, and I'm just going to slip stitch a bunch of times. I'm not going to lie, guys. The slip stitching, mildly difficult. Not the easiest thing in the world. So I'm just gonna slip stitch to connect a bunch of times, again, because I'm all about security. And then I'm gonna chain 1 and go back, I know, I'm getting ya, on a single crochet across, and then back up this side here.
As you can see, this is which is exciting because we're getting close to the end of the video, and I've inflamed tonsils from talking so much. I'm very much excited for this to be over. Also, from this episode on, Santana and Brittany are officially dating. Now to flying the Green Club to New York without a set list, only to lose at Nationals with the song they made up the night.
Okay, and then last but certainly, guys, I'm literally exhausted, but last but not least, I am going to cut out some of this to put in the bottom and just give it a little more structure, and then we'll check it out.